Welcome back, and yes, we are back to our segment. Now we have one of the biggest events happening in Sri Lanka next week, and when we speak of big, we know how Sri Lanka comes up with big events and the number of contributors supporting it, and what's big about it is the tagline going as WCY 2014. For youth, us, it's one of those biggest and cherishable events as a memory, as it's for the youth, and we are coinciding and specially dedicating it to them. And what's important is the whole world is getting together to come to Sri Lanka, and this is the youth that we're talking about to speak more further on WCY 2014, that is the World Conference on Youth 2014. Joining us on our studio or the program for today, we have the Chairman of the National Youth Services Council, Mr. Lalith Piyum Perera. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And we also have a volunteer joining us from America, that is Christopher. Very good morning to you as well. Thank you very much for joining us on Rise and Shine. So we have 1,500 we're expecting 1,500 people come to join the conference from 169 countries, if I'm not mistaken. And we have a big program being lined up from the 6th to the 10th, and from places from Hambantota to the BMICH. And this is the youth that we're talking about. So my question I would like to start with Mr. Piyum Perera. How excited are we?
Very much. Yesterday, we received the first delegation from Slovenia. Slovenian Youth Council President and Vice President, girl and a boy. They arrived last evening. They are like, well, I spoke to them. They are also very much excited about this conference because this has been happening after 4 years. Last World Conference was held in Mexico, and this is going to shape the youth agenda for beyond 2015. So, all the Sri Lankan youth, as well as the, most of these world youth leaders, they all are excited. Not only the youth, and also people like me, those who are involved in youth activities, the officers, ministers. I would like to mention that not only youth, we expect about 30 youth ministers, and also number of United Nations officers, including the President of General Assembly, and also Mr. Ahmad Al-Handawi, the Special Envoy on Youth for Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. So most of these people are, supposed to come to Sri Lanka before 6th, and we are very much excited, and the preparations are very much done, and we have different committees, 22 committees. As you mentioned, we are very much familiar with big games now after holding the Commonwealth forums. You could remember in Hambantota last year we held the Chogam Youth Forum. With all this experience, I think we are in a very good position to hold upcoming World Youth Conference.
Okay, Mr. Perera, shall we talk about the conference itself, the history of it, the background, when it started, the main objectives of it, that sort of things? And
also I would like to add on to that and ask, are we the first Asian country to host the conference, or has there been any other countries?
Yeah, very good question. It's like, I would say this sort of conference started in 1936 in Switzerland. Okay. It was supported by, then United Nations. It was called League of Nations. From 1936 onwards till 2010, until Mexican conference, we had about 15 conferences. But it's not like, having Olympics or SAARC conference or Commonwealth conference. These conferences happen on random basis.
Oh, like so it's not annual, or it's not annual standard frequency. Yes. Okay.
So, well, the significant thing is this is the first time this sort of a conference is happening in this region, in Asia region. We all know in world we have about 7 billion population. Out of that 7 billion, about 1.8 billion are youth. So we should not forget the fact that about quarter of world population consists of youth between 15 to 29 years of age.
So your youth definition is under 29, is it? 15 to
Well,
29?
in Sri Lanka, yes. Okay. In Sri Lanka, well, the first Sri Lankan youth policy was launched 3 months back. So this is in Sri Lanka, the definition is 15 to 29. United Nations, they define between 15 to 24. But at this particular conference, we take youth as 15 to 29 because with that, we could give the opportunities to most of the youth who represent different sectors.
Okay. Because some countries recognize even under 35s as youth, I guess.
Well, yes. Well, for example, Malaysia and Bangladesh, they define youth under 40. So in that sense, I am also a youth. So it's
you
like
can be young at any age, isn't it? Even at 60.
So yeah, I remember like once Dr. Sarath Amanugama said, those who are 15 to 65, according to Sri Lanka Central Bank, is young. So it's like that. There are lot of definitions. But anyway, this is the history. So in when it comes to Sri Lanka, we should not forget the fact that the peace returned to Sri Lanka in 2009. So in 2009, when His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa came into his second term, in his policy document Mahinda Chintana Forward Vision, he proclaimed this century, 21st century, as Sri Lanka's youth century. With that, also, when he mentioned about National Youth Services Council, he stated that he is going to introduce, programs, conferences of this nature to, take Sri Lankan youth out of this so-called island mentality, to, get them exposed into international field. So this is also one of the objectives why, Sri Lanka as a government host this conference. I remember, last time when the conference happened in Mexico, I myself, together with my Honorable Minister Dallas Salahapperuma, we participated that event, and there my Honorable Minister Dallas Salahapperuma, he proposed to have next World Youth Conference in Sri Lanka. So from 2010 onwards, we set a committee, a national committee comprising of Mr. Alhapperuma as co-chair, and also Mr. Namal Rajapaksa. He is being the youngest parliamentarian in Sri Lanka's national parliament. He also co-chairs this conference. So with that, we've been working on this conference. So up to now, we are very much happy about the progress of the conference. As you mentioned, national youth delegates been confirmed from 121 countries till last night, and also with the other participation, we expect about more than 170 countries to participate in the conference. This is also in every way, even compared to the other conferences had in, let's say, in Mexico, in all the other countries, this is a very good number.
Okay. Christopher, we know we have a lot to talk with Mr. Perera because he knows the background of the agenda has been scheduled for Sri Lanka. But based on you being here as a volunteer to support, before we get into questionnaire, we're going to quickly take a look at the WCY 2014, that is the World Conference on Youth 2014, the official trailer. Let's have a look at that, and then we'll speak to Christopher soon. that was the trailer, and you saw it on Channel I, that is Rise and Shine. We're going to talk to Christopher. Christopher, we saw some of the segments, I believe. Those are the areas of discussion on sanitation, on water, on women and human people. Based on your experience, what are we looking at? Is it going to be one of those major big conferences as in comparison to the youth conference as well?
Well, this is a conference that's slightly different from other conferences that have been worked for the Commonwealth Youth and whatever else you've been doing based on youth programs. This is an actually UN-sponsored youth conference, and so we have the President of the General Assembly making a presence here. You can consider him, in terms of international politics, the head of state. He's the head of the United Nations political body. This is a very big event. What we're hoping to do is that we're hoping to help mainstream the needs of the youth. We are a population that is going to be dominating the world in about 30 years. And what we say now will have a very strong effect on what the world will look like. What we're hoping to do is that by the end of this conference, we can agree on a draft and send it to the United Nations for the 69th General Assembly in New York City, where it may be recognized and accepted into the UN body. So it can be formally part of the political discussion that's happening all over the world. This is something that has never been done before, and we're really hoping that it succeeds.
Could you talk to us about the structure of the conference, the themes that you are expecting to discuss to come up with that agenda, how it's structured in terms of a theme and all that?
All right, well, because we're young, we have no absence of energy. So what we're trying to look at are things that are obstacles in the way of our development and in our ability to really help the world. And these are things that are just simple day-to-day things, like water security, dealing with food, dealing with equality, systemic inequalities, trying to destroy any kind of injustice that we may have. This is done on the prerogative of each nation, but if we can unite as a youth generation, then we'll be able to at least tell the world what we're looking for and what we need. This is the first time ever in the history of humanity that the youth has been able to unite on a global level. Because of social media, because of information technology, there's never been a better time to try to help the world.
Okay. And Mr. Perera, I'm coming back to you and asking, we know the struggle that Sri Lanka has been going through, and then by having the Commonwealth Conference here in Sri Lanka, we created a big scope, a big hype in our country. And having the youth forum, we are seeing all young adults who are coming here to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka is now known as the most fastest development country, following next to China. Having had the opportunity and to host the conference here, what is the council have to say about that?
Well, Sharon, now, well, in terms of Sri Lankan youth, the exposure they get, you know, by participating in this sort of a conference is immense. We have invited two delegates, a boy and a girl from, you know, each country. But when it comes to Sri Lanka, we have selected 152 youths. This is not only the, you know, the youth, those who would speak English or from so-called Colombo background, but they are also, you know, most of them from grassroots level youth forums. Most of them are grassroots level youth leaders. This is including Kilnochi, Mullathip, wherever you name, Badulla, Hambantota, Gampaha, you know, covering all these districts. So in terms of Sri Lankan youth, yes, this is a sort of, you know, big opportunity for them to showcase their, you know, capacity and to get exposed into international conferences of this magnitude. But in global terms, this is a very good initiative to Sri Lanka to showcase the peace, the prevailing peace in Sri Lanka, and also the development taking place in Sri Lanka. And also we know, yes, as now, you know, when we go out of Sri Lanka, people would all the time talk about LTT related problems, or else they would talk about cricket. But this is something, well, we've been...
It's a way to give a positive message to the world,
That's
isn't it?
right. We've been, you know, the championing on issues like education, healthcare. You know, we've been practicing free education for last 70 years, and also free healthcare. No, I mean, none of nobody out of Sri Lanka would know anything about these things.
Yes.
So this is a good platform, a good stage to, you know,
Send that message out.
That's right.
Exactly.
So apart from, you know, these things, even when it comes to tourism, this is a very good opportunity. Since I said that we received the first youth delegation yesterday from Slovenia, when I was talking to them, they said, you know, they purposely came to Sri Lanka, you know, before the conference, because they have heard a lot about Sri Lanka. You know, they want to have the first-hand information, and you know, they want to see the beaches of Sri Lanka. They want to see the warmth of the Sri Lankan people. So likewise, you know, people are coming to Sri Lanka. Most of these people, and also we should not forget the fact that all these youth leaders are like, they are just not youngsters. They are youth leaders from their respective
So they
countries.
actually have an influence over their
That's
people
right.
as well.
And also, you know, they have, since they are proven leaders, one day they will definitely become, I mean, leaders. They might not become political leaders,
But leaders in their own,
yes,
own segments.
well, in internationally or in corporate sector,
In education or whatever.
education, you know, different INGOs. So, and if they take a positive message from Sri Lanka for Sri Lanka's image, you know, I think it will
have a greater impact.
That's right.
Ken, yes, we're into our final segment, and we're going to quickly talk a quick question to Christopher here. Christopher, I'm not too sure whether you saw the Commonwealth Youth Conference. It was a big hit here in Hambantota. If there are visuals where we saw most of the youth who enjoyed when they came to Sri Lanka, and they said they loved it and they wanted to come back. And based on those reasons, now they kind of would have heard the story or the feedback being received from the Commonwealth, and very rightly when Lalith said that this is what it is like. And now today, when we speak of the world coming in again, because that was just Commonwealth, and this is the Commonwealth, or rather the world that's coming together, it's even bigger from what it was. So what sort of expectation would you be looking forward from the Sri Lankan side, and what would you be looking forward from the conference itself?
Well, I arrived in Sri Lanka about a week and a half ago, and I have to say that the people here are incredibly friendly. It's certainly a land of smiling people. So I expect no conflict whatsoever between Sri Lankans and welcoming the world. In terms of, for the international delegates, it is not cold here at all, so please don't pack a sweater. It's been very nice. The food here is delicious. It's a lot of rice. Bit different from European food for sure, but it's very unique and tastes very good. I'm sure that when the international delegates come in, they won't quite know what to do with the roads. It's the tuk-tuks driving everywhere is a bit different. We don't have tuk-tuks back where I'm from, but it's certainly an adventure, and the people are more than willing to help you out. I've walked down the street and people are smiling at me all the time, and they're offering me any help that I may need. So it's very exciting that the entire world will get to come and see the hospitality that this island has to offer.
Okay.
Okay, so going back to Mr. Perera, the conference is from May 6th to 10th, and there's an exhibition involved with the conference as well. Shall we talk about the dates as well as the parts of certain things that are open for general public, certain youth groups, etc.?
Yeah. Inauguration is on 6th at Magam Ruhunupura International Convention Center.
On 6th of May?
This is 6th, yes,
Okay.
6th of May. And you know, on the same day, the in the evening, ministerial conference is taking place at the same premises at Emric, Hambantota. And the conference is starting on 7th in the morning at BMICH. Plenary sessions are starting at 9 o'clock. So it will go for 3 days, and the class in plenaries is happening on 10th. Apart from the conference, for the general public to get involved, we have a separate exhibition at BMICH at Sirimao Center. So, general public are more than welcome to be a part of this conference. They could easily, I mean, it's a free exhibition.
So it's open from 7th of May to 10th of May?
From 7th to 9th.
7th to 9th,
sure. 3 days starting from 10 o'clock in the morning,
okay,
and it would go till late.
Okay.
So basically that's it. So apart from that, several other programs been also organized, but most of these are by invitation or the conference itself.
Sure. What does the exhibition have? Is it youth related?
It is youth related. We as a country and also internationally, we have invited the youth organizations. You see in Sri Lanka, when we rebranded National Youth Services Council as Sri Lanka Youth, we recognized more than 50 odd youth related organizations in Sri Lanka. They all been registered at National Youth Services Council now. Apart from these organizations, the international organizations, they are also coming to exhibit their youth development youth development exhibits. So with that, I think this is a very good this would be a very good exhibition, and also those who are willing to learn the history of youth development, and also in terms of Sri Lankan youth history, what has happened all these years for last decades and all. This is a very good place for you to get to know the youth affairs.
Okay, and before we wind up, Mr. Perera, we want to ask you, with the Commonwealth 2013, we had a big scope, and now the world knows who we are, and we've created a name there. And now with the World Conference on Youth, what is our future going to be after the conference? What are we looking forward after?
Well, after the Commonwealth, I think the international community, they are very much confident of Sri Lanka's organizational capacity. After seeing a Commonwealth conference, I mean, this is not only the youth conference, all the Commonwealth conferences. Well, I don't think in the even Commonwealth leaders thought of we had the capacity, Sri Lanka being a the small country had the capacity to host that sort of big event. But internationally, Sri Lanka is well recognized after Commonwealth that we are in a good position to hold this sort of conference. It's not all about holding conferences, but the outcome. How would you take the outcome into the next level? So the outcome document is for the conference on youth, World Conference on Youth, being issued, and it's been widely argued, debated, and inputs being taking place from states, from youth, from United Nations, and also from even we had sessions at Sri Lanka's National Parliament with young parliamentarians. So all these feedbacks, inputs would feed into this document. So by 10th morning, May 10th morning, the Colombo Declaration, Youth Declaration would be able to launch. Okay. So with that, well, we are going to take as Chris clearly mentioned, we are going to take that into 68th General Assembly, and we want to set the platform through this document, since this would get a big legitimacy, since more than 121 national delegates are confirmed, and also 30 odd ministers.
Sure.
And apart from national delegates around the world, we are expecting about 170 country participants.
Sure.
With that, we
broad
can
representation.
Yes, that representation would
make it really legitimate and credible.
That's right.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lalith Piyum Perera and Christopher. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. It's the biggest event that we were discussing about, the World Conference on Youth 2014, from the 6th to the 10th of May. And we do look forward, as your national television host will be prepared to bring you live on every single area.